Agnes Mellor. I work for the Faculty of Medicine here, and on behalf of the University and the Faculty of Medicine, I'd really like to welcome you all here today. Brian's given me some names of people he'd particularly like to thank for coming today, and I don't know who you are, so as I mention your name, maybe if you could put your hand up, I'll know who I'm referring to as well. So Ian and Norma McLean.
I'm Norma.
Okay, thank you. Ian is the Vice President of the Clan McLean. You probably know all this. And he'll be representing President Les McLean, who's unable to be here today. Colin and Norma Sproul. Now, Colin I've met. Thank you. Captain Marcus McLean. Thank you. And Mrs. Brooke McLean.
She's not here.
She's not here. Okay, thank you. Brian and Val McLean. Brian is a past president. Sorry? You're Val, yes. Hi, Val. And is the Australian representative on the Clan McLean Heritage Trust. There are many other members of Dr. Archibald's family here, as you know, and I'm particularly excited. It says on this list that there's some great nephews here. So, Albert. Gregson and Albert.
Gregson has arrived.
Gregson has arrived.
And Gordon is
Gordon.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I first came to know about Archibald Lang McLean via Colin Sproul when Colin contacted the university requesting whether it was possible to have a plaque here to commemorate his life. Brian is going to talk a bit more about what that process has involved apart from more time than any of us anticipated. And so I could say that, you know, finally we are happy to have one on the wall here and that it's going to be here for hundreds of years, and we're really pleased to do so. Students have actually been looking at it already. They've come up to me and they've said, who's that plaque, who's that guy, what's that about? Staff inside the library have also noticed, even the builders doing construction work down there, and said that plaque wasn't there before. I'm pleased about that because we do wonder whether people actually stop and read plaques. Brian is going to talk to you and then we're going to have a lament, as you've heard, but I thought what I'd like to do today, rather than listen to me talk too much, is actually give you the opportunity to hear some of his writings, because what I've got in my hands you haven't seen because I've got it out of rare books. It's actually Archibald Lang McLean's MD thesis. And when I went to this to do a bit of research, I was absolutely in awe of his writing. He writes like Joseph Conrad. He evokes the excitement and passion of a young man in Antarctica, following in the footsteps of his great mentor and explorer. So it's a terrific book actually. I mean, I have to say that I don't usually read MD medical thesis from start to finish, and I did on this. Even the works where he's describing the changes in body temperature and acclimatisation of the human body in Antarctica, it's absolutely fascinating. But the last chapter, for a young man, I mean, this was published in 1917, but it's really a kind of psychological treatise on the psychology of the explorer. So I'm going to read to you some of that. See the sky. Bergs in shapely mirage swim in the liquid rose of the faraway ocean, glancing up to the palest lilac to the dome above. The zenith is suffused as impenetrable violet, arching down to meet the icy pallor of the inscrutable plateau. The water is rigid in spreading, frozen plaques, a mirror of the changing shades of sunset colour. It is a scene which spells in feeling the breathless inward surge at the marvel of unassuming loveliness and the exquisite workmanship of matchless creation. That's just one scene to give you an idea of how he speaks, and it's just beautiful. His last few pages in this thesis are his thoughts on the will of an explorer, what it takes. And I know that you know his story and that he rescued Mawson. And reading this, I found nowhere any self-aggrandisement. He still, right to the very end, honours Mawson, as you'll hear. Perhaps there is no element in consciousness, though we may not rationally single one out, which receives stronger curb or more decisive strengthening than that of will. From the first, the explorer contends with difficulty. He is thrown on his own originating resources. He is deceived by ease of his own daring mind. He finds he is failed, neglecting sane foresight, but nevertheless he must win through to the semblance of success. In the battling days, when a home is won within the snowy maze of land blotted out by racking blizzards, each one is testing his juvenile strength. There is the buoyancy of the beginning, the glamour of the faraway end. We may laugh at small adversities, knowing that to endure many is to rise to the culmination of mental force which will succeed against a formidable power. The sledger makes off with his boon companions to seek out the waste places, to test his newfound strength against the stern, foodless, cold-gripping wilderness. The sun shines on the prospering days, the sledge glides merrily, a hummock of black land looms up, and the geography of an unknown latitude has been widened. But the trail leads unerringly to danger, and danger, once viewed frontwise with open eyes, vanishes to the contingency of every day. The experience of small perils is the education to bland contemplation of horror in its just actuality. The habit of many days has ceased to be mere adventure. It is when that habit is rudely broken by the fell shock of calamity that the slumbering sea of volition boils up to prove its strength. There is the vision of a figure stumbling, companionless, dragging on through the changeless days of threshing seething snowdrift. He has learnt in times long past the lessons of adversity, the grand solitude of self-reliance. He is impelled to stumble on, sinking in the yielding beds of downy snow, so white and pure, yet so relentless in its mockery of human suffering. Hands and feet numb to the flapping gusts of sleeting blizzard, yet the heart palpitates hot in the will-driven frame of a man who fights for the life still sweet to self, who fights for the life in the service of others. It is the figure of a Franklin, of an Oates, of the many names that are emblazoned on the roll of exploring fame. When will has thus risen to superhuman might, it bows to its own mortality. Thank you. Okay. With that, I'd like to hand over to Brian.
Thank you, Dr. Malloy. Welcome, for your welcome and introduction. Through you, on behalf of the McLean Heritage Trust, I sincerely thank the University of Sydney for allowing us to place my medical library. Without your support and conviction that Dr. Archibald McLean was worthy of recognition, we would not be standing here today. Thank you, Robert, for coming along. Not really yet. For us. Dr. Bouwer has shown what an artistic and great writer Archibald was. And most of his life, the resume of his life, is in this leaflet. And I hope you will take the spare ones there, take others if you wish. It's covered pretty well on there, so I intend to, as Dr. Bouwer said, to speak a bit about the process of getting to this stage today. So, how does a McLean from WA, who's not related to Dr. Archibald, come to be involved in this project? So 12 years ago, Colin, Israel and myself became aware of Dr. Archibald. We were both newspaper writers for various associations, myself in WA and Colin in New South Wales, and we wrote an article. Colin, I think, did a little bit of research at that time, but the information that was archived. Then in 2007, early 2007, I was invited to become the Australian representative of the McLean Heritage Trust. I saw then an opportunity to create or do something tangible to recognise Dr. Archibald. I conferred with Colin, and he wholeheartedly agreed and supported the idea. Then I presented a short profile on the life of Dr. Archibald to the Trust, and later that year, permission was granted to something Sydney campus on the Bouwer course at that time. Colin and Norma continued more extensive research, handicapped by at that stage not knowing any descendants. Being in WA, I was most appreciative of their interest and efforts. They located the site of the guard firm, the family home in Abbotsford, and help was given by a number of people acknowledged in the leaflet the 5 Block Public School, PLAQUE High School, 4th Street Boys High School. Shirley Wood from the Australian Red Cross sends her apologies as she could not be here. Provided information regarding the chest hospital at Bouwer, where Dr. Archibald was medical officer for a short period before his final illness. I believe he was attempting researching the condition that he had, tuberculosis. We are pleased that Alan Curry is present. He was very helpful to Colin, researching 5-field ambulance, Australian Army Medical Corps, and Ron Heather, the Royal Cemetery Trust, was contacted regarding the possibility of placing a plaque on a family memorial. That was one option which we considered. Thank you, Colin and all.